Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path. Welcome to the start of our 2023 border track trip. By the way, if you want to pick up some stickers or patches, jump onto our Buy Me a Coffee page, buymeacoffee.com/OTBP, Off the Beaten Path. You can pick up stickers and patches there if you're interested. Or you can just donate coffee and buy me a virtual coffee to support the channel and what we do. So coming with us on this trip, of course, I'm coming on the trip. Always got to have that one guy that plays in the mud and makes things look hard. Got to be there. Also coming on the trip is Dan from Out There with Dan in the Iron Emu, his revamped 90 Series Prado. Coming along with us as well is Trippy Matt, pushing that 75 Series Trippy as hard as he possibly can and making short work of the border track. Of course, no trip's complete without Luca, the Italian chef, pushing that TB48. And we also have Paul with us again, Mr. Control, bringing along his FJ Cruiser. So epic trip, can't wait to get into it. Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path. Now today we're picking up at the Red Bluff campground up here, and our goal is to get to the ocean and finish the border part of this trip today. So it was always going to be a long day, and what you can see here is our planned route. So the plan is out of the Red Bluff campground, back onto the border track. Just about here is where the big Rodeo Dune is. Over the Rodeo Dune, continuing south. Now, this section of the border track from Blue Hills Road onwards, none of us have driven before. This is where the Blue Hills Road here is where we exited when I did the trip with Luca and Adam. So the plan is to continue south. Where there's a track on the border, some sections like through here, that's the border, there is no track. So we know we're going to have to divert around those. And then we will skirt the western edge of the Little Desert National Park. So that should be good. And then again, here's a section where there's no actual track on the border. So the plan was to skirt that as close as we could. So just here we almost get back to the Wimmera Highway, sort of just east of Narracourt, and we get back on the border for a short section and then parallel it again for another few kilometres, and then from here we're back on the border for this southern section. Pretty much all the way. There's a lot of pine plantations through here, and it looks like there is actually a border road, border track. We passed just east of Penola there. Again, short section here where there is no track on the border. We have to divert around that. Back onto the border, continuing south. We cross the Glenelg Highway, pass just east of Mount Gambier, and continue on the border almost down to the Princess Margaret Rose Caves, where we hit the Glenelg River, and then take the track around past Donovans onto Glenelg River Road, down to Piccaninny Ponds, where we hit the ocean and we complete the Murray to the ocean, the Murray to the beach part of this trip. That's the plan, guys. As you'll see, it doesn't quite go to plan. We do get to the beach, but just not the way we thought we were going to. Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path, and we're picking up in this video where we left off in the last one. We've finished the main section of what is considered to be the main border track, so the one-way section, and then a further section south of that. We've got onto this gravel road and we've aired up, and we're navigating our way south, looking to stick as close to the border as we possibly can. There's the convoy lined up, the FJ, the 90 Series, the Troopy, the GU, and the 76. And the road ahead, looking long and straight and pretty flat on the border. So shout out to Trick and Matt for the drone footage in this and the recent videos. So it wasn't very long after that the track narrowed considerably. We were sort of back onto what we thought was a pretty main gravel road. This is still in pretty good condition though, so none of us are worried too much about airing down. And before very long again, we've got some confirmation there. You can see the painted sign on the corrugated iron there, border track. So nice to know that we're on the right track, so to speak. And a little bit similar to everything that we've seen to this point, the track is constantly changing. You go from gravel back onto sand, back onto dirt. You never quite know what you're going to get. And like earlier sections, you can see here we're on a strip of land, fenced on both sides with a narrow strip of vegetation on the track, sandwiched in between farmland either side. And making our progress in good time. And like some of the sections we've passed already, it wasn't too long before we saw evidence of damage to the track, and I think in this case, yep, looking for a way around. You never quite know how deep or soft those holes might be. And again, push through one section of bush and be back into a more open section like this. And it quickly closes back up again. You can see some ruts here that obviously have developed when it's been a bit wetter and softer into here. So certainly in winter, I think this section of the track could be a whole different ball game. You can see some ruts there when clearly it's been a lot softer, but at the moment, no real issue for us. And on this corner here, you can see a bit of a bog hole with some water in it. Took the plunge and was in and out before the tyres barely got wet. Possibly could have squeezed through on the left, but it didn't really look like there was that much room, so decided to take the chance. And again, you can see here clear ruts and a bit of a bog hole forming on that left hand side, so we've been able to squeeze through on the right, although it's a pretty snug fit even in the 76. I think coming through here in a 200 series or patrol, you'd well and truly want to be prepared for some pinstriping. There's not a lot of clearance around the track. You can hear the odd branch hitting the roof rack even. And again, this section was nice and dry while we're here. And I've just seen something on the track, fortunately, and stopped just in time. You can see a blue tongue there. So I'm glad I stopped and didn't run the poor fella over. Now, I wasn't sure if he was going to make his way up out of the rut, and it soon became apparent that he probably wasn't. He was going to just keep crawling along in the rut there. And Luca to the rescue. There he is. Keeping a good eye on Luca. That doesn't say he's happy to see us, does it?
Yeah,
he didn't want to be picked up either, that's for sure.
Oh, come on, give us a chance.
Yeah, Luca has managed to get hold of him just behind the neck and pick him up and move him off the track, put him the other side of the fence where he'll be safe.
See you later, mate.
So, good to know he's safely off the track now. Would have been easy to miss him. He was sort of hidden down there in the rut. A little bit off camber as I've spanned that one. And that's the thing, driving tracks like this, you really don't know what you're going to get around each corner. You do need to pay attention. And look at this. So I've come through this bog hole and managed to miss him, but
Oh, there he is.
lo and
He's
behold,
getting out.
we've got another blue tongue
Yeah, he looks stuck.
on the track here. So again, Luke has volunteered to be wildlife rescuer.
I just wasn't sure if he was stuck or not.
A little bit easy to get a hand on that one.
He's not entirely happy about being picked up, but I think he was stuck.
And again, Luke is just moving him off the track to the side, where hopefully he'll stay off the track.
No thanks.
No, thanks.
And he'll be a bit safer there rather than on the track, where he's likely to get run over. So that was crazy, just in the space of a couple of Ks there, 2 blue tongues on the track. Both of which shall live to see another day. Now here, I missed seeing that track on the right hand side, and initially headed this way, which has actually got us heading east away from the border. Fortunately, tracking this on the HEMA HX2 in car, realised fairly quickly, and promptly turned around and headed back. Little did I know that was going to probably be to not much profit. So yeah, turned around, headed back to regroup with everybody and continue on the border section of the border track on this other part here. And you can see Trippy Matt's pulled up there. We've got a track ahead of us, but we've got a homemade sign that says no through road, private property. Now, all the information that we've got on our maps says that it's a public track.
No, let's keep it real. We've got a long way to go and
Yeah.
don't want to upset anyone.
I just think, there's 5 vehicles, we're going to get noticed, and we might be right, but, and
Well, let's not take the chance.
yeah, in fact, I'm pretty bloody sure we're right.
Yeah,
But we don't need to have an argument, and we're on the mood of the trip, we're all having a good time, so
absolutely.
let's
So yeah, we decided that we'd abide by the sign, even though we're pretty sure it's actually a public road. You see that a lot where, and look, largely it's because of people in the past have done the wrong thing. So farmers have had an impact, whether it's damage to their property that adjoins the track or whether it's stock losses or whatever. So they take steps to protect their livelihood. So even though we're quite confident based on the map data that we've got and my research pre-trip that we should have been able to drive through there, we've decided to follow the instructions on the sign, and we've headed back down the way I went the first time. So I've got Paul and the FJ in front of me, and we're heading east here to the bitumen. Again, another tight little section of track through here. I don't think this part of the border track gets very much traffic really at all. And as I said earlier, you can hear those trees brushing on the roof rack. It really is a pretty tight track. If you had a wider vehicle and or a taller vehicle, you'd definitely be hitting a lot of branches. And look, trying to find your way on trips like this is all part of the adventure. Figuring out the route that you're actually going to take. And we've still got a fair way to go when you consider. So not lunchtime yet, but yeah, we've hit the bitumen here, and just turning right onto Serviceton North Tilapia Downs Road to head south and parallel the border. So we're in Victoria now, probably about 3-4 k's east of the border. Successfully made the turn. You saw Paul up in front of me, and I've got Matt in the FJ, Matt in the Troopy I should say, not the FJ, behind me. And we continued making our way south. We've actually crossed the Western Highway and we're near a little place called Serviceton, and working our way back west now back to the border, which is not too far. So take this corner here, there's a train line straight in front of us there, and Serviceton's just over the other side of the train line. So we're turning onto Wolseley Road here, and just a kilometre or so up here, and we make a left-hand turn over the train line and we're back on the border. So this is Colwell Road, but it is definitely on the Vic SA border. So we're back on the border, heading south. We're a little bit north of the Big Desert National Park, Little Desert National Park, I think. And you can see at this point where we've got a fairly well-made road in front of us. Very quickly that changes to a little narrower road, and yeah, we're just north of the Little Desert National Park. So from Wolseley Road down to the Little Desert National Park, we're looking at about 11 or 12 kilometres. And as we're going along, the track is getting smaller and smaller. Right here, Paul has just realised, as have I, we actually need to be over there on the left, because we've just hit a bit here and the track just goes straight into a farmer's paddock rather than continuing south. So by the look of the grass, the tyre marks through the grass here, not the first ones to make this mistake and realise, hang on, I'm meant to be over there. And fortunately we'd had good weather, so that ground wasn't particularly soft at all. I was able to just shoot straight across, get back on the track and continue heading south. Starting to wonder, you know, is this track actually going to just disappear, because it's becoming less and less apparent the further south we get, the closer we get to the Little Desert National Park. But fortunately the track didn't run out, and we've come to this gate here, which is the or one of the entrances to the Little Desert National Park up in the northwest part of the park. So that was pretty cool. You never quite know when you're on these little backtracks whether you're going to find yourself running into a fence or whether you're actually going to find a gate. And you can see I'm still on my learner gate license there, trying to figure out which way they're meant to swing. So we've got that sorted now, fortunately. One benefit of being with at least a couple other vehicles, so you might have to open the gate, but somebody else will be there to close it. Now I'm just pulling over to the left here and following this less noticeable older track because although it's probably not apparent on this footage, they're in the middle of doing a heap of fencing work here, and they've got fencing wire attached to posts running down along that track. So those lines you can see on the track there on the right are not shadows, they're actual fence posts laying on the track ready to be stood up and put into holes. So obviously didn't want to drive over the top of their new fence that they're in the middle of building, so we've paralleled the main track on this track here, and I was wondering where it was going to go, but then I've realised, hang on, it does just duck around the tree here and continue on. Not the first people to drive along here. No doubt the contractors doing the fencing have been doing the same thing. Trippy Matt bringing up the rear and closing the gate for us, leaving it just the way we found it. And we had been keeping an eye out for a lunch stop spot, and you can see there's a fire down there and a few trees and a bit of a flat area to pull over, so we decided this would make a good lunch stop. And everybody pulled over to get some shade and have some lunch.
Good. Yeah. Matt, I've got some friends of the channel that live in England, the Price family, so shout out to them.
Hey, Price family!
They said, or they commented on the video of your troopy, that they were kind of saying that perhaps it's not a simple way of camping, but you know, it's still good. And I think to a lot of people's surprise, I really like these things, and if we go on a big trip with the kids, you know, weeks at a time out in the future, we'll definitely have one.
Yeah, I agree.
Just gives you that flexibility to mix up different lunches and do it and not waste time on the road, right?
Especially for lazy people like myself, you shove it in, turn your oven on, and then when you get to somewhere for lunch, your sausage roll is just good and ready to go.
Yeah.
That's been in there for a bit over an hour on 130, and it's like a bain-marie. It's just the perfect temperature. So for travel, if I was a bit more set up, I could now put my roast in there and then let that go 4 or 5 hours for dinner, and then we'd have roast when we arrived at camp.
That's awesome. Yeah, great bit of kit.
Yeah, wouldn't I never be without one again. And the croissants for breakfast is just a game changer.
Yeah, always invite Matt. You get offered ham and cheese croissants.
So after lunch, before we headed off, it was the opportune time to pick up some of this deadfall here and post some firewood ready for tonight. Little did we know at this point how much we're going to appreciate
solo
the fact
camping, I see a spot like this out with the saw, put the long lengths on the
firewood
roof.
because
When you hit camp, just
we end
drop
up
them
getting
up
to
into
camp
firewood
pretty
pieces.
late. But that's a story that will evolve.
I'll take the little one.
So yeah, Matt had plenty of room on his roof rack, so he's happy to have them loaded up there.
Smell of creosote.
So yeah, we end up with a pretty good stash of firewood.
Right on the edge, Jason.
Sorry?
Right on the edge, mate. Yeah.
Ready for a fire later that night.
Is there any more there you wanted to grab? Or?
Lunch stop. That's tying down some firewood we've gathered up here that was already deadfall. Most of the rest of us have finished lunch. Looks like they're doing a bit of track building here. Still on the border, heading south. We're a little bit past Border Town, I think, and finding our way to Piccaninny Ponds.
So yeah, it was a nice little lunch stop there, and we're continuing southbound now through the Little Desert National Park, following the track down the western edge of the park on the border, and we really had no idea what to expect. When I say that, I was expecting something like what we've got there on the right-hand side, pretty much a gravel road all the way through the park that we'd be able to sit on probably 40, 50 k's an hour, if not 60, and make really good time. I hadn't expected this southern section of the border track to really offer anything up that was going to be difficult or challenging in any way. I really thought this was going to be a pretty easy drive. Long day, lots of k's to cover, but a pretty easy drive. And while it started off that way, you will see it didn't stay that way. So yeah, the gravel road quickly turned into a sort of a sandy track. Again, very similar to what we've been experiencing sort of all the way along the border. Most of it was fairly firm sand, but we did have some sections that were thicker, softer sand. And started to see evidence that the tracks through here do get pretty soft and wet. You can see a good few puddles there. And again, not very much further along, another section of ruts and water-filled bog holes. When you see that much water sitting around sort of right on the surface like that, you do sort of wonder how firm the ground around it is going to be, but it was pretty firm, so we didn't have too many concerns just yet. Else coming along and making their way through that section. So there's Tripping Matt, and Paul, and FJ.
No, thank you.
Followed by Luca in the Canoe Patrol, and Dan in the Iron Emu 90 Series Proto. Pushing our way south. You can see here this sand is a lot softer and thicker than the sand we were driving through earlier in the Little Desert here. So it really is just a little bit of everything through here. And we've all spread out a little bit just because of a little bit of dust that comes up. Time though. And again, the vegetation here is so dense, it's that sort of low sort of, I don't know if it's a salt bush or what you call that, with some larger trees interspersed compared to what we were seeing up on the main section of the border track.
Hey guys, so it's...
Try and let them go your steering wheel, guys. You'd be amazed how it just does everything on its own.
Day 3 of the trip. We're southbound, of course.
Next minute, car outside.
On the edge of the Little Desert National Park, on a little travelled section of the border track. We've had to deviate off a little bit you know, the obligatory private property no through road sign popped up on one section where the map clearly showed a right of way track. So yeah, there you go, hands-free driving navigation. It does sway a bit though. Yeah, so we respected that, even though
I'll get some muddy wheels. Oh no, there's a bypass.
we
I'm going to take the bypass.
didn't think it was right. But yeah, we're back on the border. Still got a ways to go before we get to Piccadilly Ponds, and then camping tonight at Lower Glenelg National Park.
And you would have
Hit this section.
heard Matt on the radio there saying there was a muddy section, but there is a bypass track which everybody's opted to take. But of course, some of us just can't help but look for a little bit of fun. And it wasn't that soft and wet anyway. Okay, so we got a little bit of mud on the tyres for sure. All part of the adventure. And yeah, needless to say, Luca's not driving through mud if he doesn't have to.
You're wasting your time!
And he also took the bypass around. Again, probably older, wiser heads prevailing there. And as you'll see as this trip evolves, some of my choices will be called into question. So again, a lot of water sitting around, even though there hadn't been much in the way of rain recently, and just really close to the surface as well. So I really don't think you'd want to be trying to come through here in winter. I suspect this would all just be underwater, and it'd be very hard to tell, you know, the deeper sections from the shallower sections. And you could well and truly get yourself into a spot of bother, I suspect. And again, good section of water there over on the right hand side, some ruts here in the middle where it's clearly been a bit softer. No issue for us today though. And it is a little bit of a choose your own adventure. You can see the other guys have opted to take that right hand lane. The left hand line looked clear and easy to me, so I've opted to take that. And it has turned into a nice hard packed track. I mean, there's the ruts there that are holding a bit of water, but it's a very easy line just sitting on top of those. And I think ultimately coming this way is probably been easier than the way the other guys went. At least a little less chewed up, that's for sure. And again, I've looked at that and gone, you know what, if I breathe in, I reckon there's room there on the right to fit between the rut and the tree, and there was. And you can hear the engine there starting to work climbing this hill because the sand's gone soft and thick again. So just a quick gear change down. And I've kept meaning to mention through these videos that for those of you that have been following the series, you'll remember on day one there when Matt had some trouble on the sand dune where he wasn't getting four-wheel drive. What we found, which I don't think I've mentioned or explained in any of the videos, is that his four-wheel drive wasn't working in high range. I'm pretty sure I got this right, but in low range it was. So yeah, gum trees dropping limbs down, which is nothing new. So fortunately there's space to get past that one. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure that it was in high range that it wasn't working, and in order to have four-wheel drive he had to be in low range. So something to do with his transfer case and how that's engaging was just that in high range he wasn't getting four-wheel drive. So he's not taking anything that requires four-wheel drive at speed because he does have to be in low range to have that additional traction. But what he can do, being twin locked, is he can be in high range and he can lock the rear wheels and get a little bit of extra traction or drive in that way. Now here we've got another tree down, but this one there wasn't a way around, so we were going to have to clear it.
This one, tree down, no bypass track for this one, so we're gonna have to clear it.
So yeah, just getting Matt's winch out. Since he was at the front of the convoy.
Nice and tight.
And the soft shackle there, securing his winch rope up to the car, is pulled nice and tight. It's managed to loosen it off, and yeah, hooked the winch on here. It's really just that one main large limb that was blocking the track, so the winch was able to pull that across fairly easily.
I reckon we can roll it over though. Keep pulling it in.
And yeah, it's still obviously blocking the track, but yeah, as you just heard, my thoughts were we could, once that winch rope was off it, we could probably roll it over. And that would leave us plenty of room actually on the track. So that's Paul there, give me a hand. There it goes.
Oh, I'm tired. It's hard work doing this camera stuff.
Just get out.
Oh, that's not important.
So yeah.
It's more than the average track width clearing in the high country, I think.
And for those of you watching,
a little bit too wide.
Yeah, bring it in a little bit.
Wouldn't pass for the high country.
You've probably, like me, all of you seen those clearings where it's a tree's been cleared off the track.
That's
and
an 11-point turn to get out.
It's literally just a couple hundred mil each side, if that, for a vehicle width to get through. So we did leave a bit more room than that. And the convoy is back underway with Matt leading the way in the Troopy, followed by Paul in the FJ, then me and Dan and Luca bringing up the rear. It's always good when you're in a group like this to shuffle up the driving order a little bit. Again, the guys have opted to go around, and I've decided to go straight ahead and just span the ruts and stay on the main track. And yeah, it's a bit hard to spot in that light, but there's a decent sized little puddle just in front of me, I think. And do Doing a great job with my gear changes there, I think. And just trying to decide probably on which way I was going to go. Was I going to reverse up? Of course I'm not going to reverse up. I'm just going to drive straight through. It didn't look that deep, and fortunately it wasn't. Hard to tell with that murky brown water though. This one was a no-brainer to take that right-hand lane. Again, as I said, plenty of water sitting around, which was just odd, given there really hadn't been any rain. Just stopping here to double-check our map and make sure that we're not going in the wrong direction. And we did confirm that taking the right hand option looks like the way to go. And before very long we found this section with some nice long ruts full of water, but a bypass track as well around the outside. No, and pretty much everybody else has just opted to take that safe, sensible route around the outside. Paul's just followed Matt's line there in the FJ, and Dan is going to take a similar line. Again, I think this whole area would be underwater in winter. Luca, of course, he's got to find the Luca line. It's just a little bit different, and he's spanned the ruts there nicely, still not getting his tyres wet. But just taking that slightly different line to everybody else. It was my turn, and what can I say other than, hey, I like water and we've been driving for 4 hours and I was keen to have a little bit of fun, and it was just water, not mud, so I didn't opt to take that left hand one. Did nearly dip out though, which is why that right foot's gone down. Look, that was a good fun drive through that water.
Love the challenge.
We call that unnecessary but fun.
I think the smile on my face there probably says it all.
You're pretty nimble.
Again, you can see this section of track here definitely gets soft and wet during winter. Still a little bit muddy there, but again we're able to take a little bit of a sort of a bypass on the right hand side. And we've come across another muddy section that also, I think, had a bypass, but Matt was keen to tackle this one in the freaky. And he's done just that nicely. And he hasn't given it too much gas or momentum. He's got a good set of mud tyres on that and was pretty confident. He's twin locked as well. and he's found the dry route through for the rest of it. Paul is opting to keep his car clean and take the bypass option. Again, older and wiser heads prevailing. You can see the way he drives that thing, like there's a little bit of dirt, mud on the tyres, but there's barely a speck on the actual vehicle itself. It amazes me how clean he keeps that thing with the way he drives. My turn. What do you think I'm doing? Of course I'm following Matt. Now I've got road terrain tyres, I've got open diffs, so I've given it a little bit more momentum than Matt did. Make sure I get through, and that meant in the second section I couldn't get across to follow the line that Matt took, which is what I was intending to do, so I've gone straight through that next big bog hole. So I just couldn't get across. I had momentum and yeah, it just wouldn't steer left. And yeah, Dan's not going through the mud either. Again, he's a little bit too sensible. And given the last trip he came on with me caused the death of his last 90 Series Proto, I think he's keen to get through a trip and not damage or destroy his vehicle, which is always a good outcome. And Luca has also taken the bypass there. Like Paul, Luca manages to keep his vehicle pretty clean. You can see there, for a white car, there's not a lot of dirt that's been thrown up on the vehicle on this trip. But he does still find a Luca line to drive there that's a little bit different to everybody else's route. And that's my car, compared to Paul and Luca's.
None of those 5 lines were exactly the same.
No, we all did it different.
Well, I just
And we didn't get far. This is literally 300 metres down the road, and Matt has bellied out, diffed out, just driving the section of track. He was just driving the ruts that looks like nothing, but he is well and truly stuck there. Both diffs are just buried, and he's got no traction, and it's time to run the winch out. Benefit of hindsight, probably would have been easier for one of us to hook on the back and pull him out backwards. Because this ended up taking a fair bit. It's just one of those situations where you're not expecting to get stuck, and he is well and truly
Setting up for a double line pull.
diffed out. So he did end up setting it up as a double line pull. Just because of the resistance he was getting with both diffs dragging and the spring hangers as well. So keeping in mind that
You would not expect this on a section like this, would you?
that Matt's vehicle is leaf sprung front rear.
Looks like a rear bar off something there. Dual cab ute maybe.
A few car parts there, so clearly
He is bogged down
this
good and
area
proper, isn't he?
catches people out from time to time, and a few rear bars have been ripped off in the
Genuine
mud here at
plastic.
different times by the look of that. See, he's making progress, but slowly. All 4 wheels kind of spinning, and the winch is really just doing the grunt work of dragging everything through that section of track. See there, that mud is just like cement. It's really soupy. Well and truly filled his tyres up. See the spring hangers there, see the mud in front of the passenger side front tyre there. Starting to get those front tyres up onto some drier solid ground now. Just giving the winch a little bit of a break, and Luke is going in to check to see.
Check out the drag marks at the back from the spring hangers.
How the rope is going, spooling on. Pulling off to one side like that, the tendency is for the winch rope to want to bunch up on that side, depending how much room you've got for your rope to spool on. It can get stuck. And finally he is out.
You should see the drag marks from your spring hangers at the back, mate, and your diff.
So yeah, just a couple of ruts, but you can see those marks.
So big long drag mark on the left here from the rear right spring hanger, diff pumpkin drag mark in the middle, and the other spring hanger dragging not quite so much on the other side. This stuff is just like pottery clay. It's just soup. And these ruts were just deeper than anticipated.
As you can see, not super deep ruts, but I'm pretty sure Matt's running 31s, maybe 32s, or 31 and a halves. They're definitely not 33s anyway. So he really doesn't have that much clearance. And you can see there, those rear spring hangers in particular, just how low they actually sit. So it's my turn. We'd already taken plenty of time here, so needless to say, I'm avoiding those ruts and just driving on top of them. We didn't need another solid axle vehicle bogging down and another winch out of there, because we still had a fair few Ks to cover on this trip. So there you go. I can exercise a little bit of common sense sometimes. And you can see there, Matt's just slipped in.
I got that. Yeah, I just caught that.
So he's going to span the ruts. I've decided after watching Matt fall in that I would just drive straight through rather than risk falling in the way he did. You can see how rough that was just there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like this video if you liked it. Leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of what we do. So thanks for your support, and we will catch you in the next video.